Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome
Hello.
welcome to Claire. Claire's here as well.
Hello. Thanks to everyone joining us today. Happy Sunday.
We have another episode of Scientology Stories that we're going to do for you today. And hey, can you turn off the AC where I am while you're
Oh
up
yeah.
there?
Yep.
Sorry guys, I just noticed I'm getting frozen down here, and it's because my air conditioner is on, and Claire controls everything from Command Central up there.
I
We
sure do.
can everybody can let us know where they're coming from today in the comments, and we are going to do a giveaway at the end of today's episode. And if you want to enter into today's giveaway, you have to tap the hashtag Hail Xenu. That will automatically enter you in to win one of the giveaways. What are we giving away? Weren't we giving away a bunch of different things?
Yes, we are giving away a bobblehead, 2 Davy dolls, fake Navy Davy dolls. And in honor of this Seorg Day discussion we're having, we will do Hail Xenu merch of your choice as well. There you go. And
Nice.
Special thanks to the many people who have been donating giveaways. This latest round is from the username Let's Create a Chain.
Yeah, and it's Xenu is Xenu. So it's HAILXENU. And you only have to enter it once and you'll automatically be entered. You don't have to type it in 27 times. Okay, let's see where greetings from South Florida. Thank you, Linda P. Louisiana.
Nice.
Thank you, Heather.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Heather.
GTA area. Ontario,
Canada. Nice. Oh, here. Yeah, Philadelphia. Okay, here, I got one. Oh, let me do it.
Scotland. Hey, Scotland.
Hey, Scotland. Hey, Christine. Here, this one. Greetings from the land of Xenu, Sweden. Yes, thanks for joining us. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, we have a lot of videos, and it's becoming a thing that I'm seeing more often. Is it'll just say a comment will just come in one day. It'll say, "Hey, from California," and it's the videos from like 8 weeks ago or 8 months ago or whatever it is. People are just telling them where they're at. German in SoCal. Thank you, nice. Lillian. Oh, I see, Lillian. That's they've got a little Dave Gone.
Oh yeah.
Emoji, and that's Lillian is the name. So
yes,
get it. That's a Depeche Mode thing. Aurora, Colorado. Hey, Aurora, we're down here in Castle Rock. Glasgow, Montana.
Necessary Trouble. Hello, good to see you here.
And then Lulu Baru. Hail Xenu from Michigan. Hey, that's a great idea. They're saying where they're from and the hashtag.
I love it.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Oh, we got Minnesota. Another Philly person. Cool, as Gretchen Philly says.
Nice.
So today is a special Sea Org Day edition of Scientology Stories. Both Claire and I were in the Sea organization, which is this organization that L. Ron Hubbard started in the 1960s. And it is the most upper level of Scientology management that there is. The Sea organization was entrusted to basically keep track of the OT levels, the upper levels of Scientology. And what there's Sea Org Days. What day is it Sea Org Day on, Claire?
August 12th, I believe.
August 12th. And you knew when you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, so 1967. So it's been in existence now for 57 years. Yeah, and the primary purpose of the Sea organization was to essentially do L. Ron Hubbard's bidding, managing all management organizations of Scientology internationally. And another primary purpose, as you said, was protecting the upper levels of Scientology in which you learn about Xenu. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's how we were tying it in with our discussion from last week
Yeah, but
about the
yeah, about all
BTs
the
activate, all
yeah,
that stuff.
about the aliens, man. So the
I was
Sea
at the I was at a vet appointment yesterday, and
Yeah.
it was a sign. There was a car that had aliens license plate, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
But in the beginning, the only Sea Org organizations were either the management of Scientology or the individual places where they told you about the operating thetan levels, OT3 and above. Those were called advanced organizations, and they were the only organizations that were manned by staff by Sea Org members. And the Sea Org members are the ones that signed the billion-year contracts in Scientology.
Right.
Okay. And the motto of the Sea organization is "We come back." So
Yep.
when you sign a Sea Org contract, it's expected that when you die in this life, you're coming back for the next life. And that's how this whole billion-year contract ties in. But then over the years, the Sea organization started opening up new different organizations. Like they have an organization in the Caribbean that's aboard a cruise ship, and that is where operating Thetan level 8 is delivered. And that is also a Sea Org organization. It's only Sea Org members that are manning that organization. And then you have, and the way it's different than the other Scientology organizations is if you have an organ in some part of the United States that's in a strip mall and they deliver beginner courses there, those are most likely not Sea Org members. Those are just people that join Scientology staff, and they either work a certain, like they work a half days, like a part-time as a part-time staff member, or they work as a full-time staff member. And they don't sign the billion-year contracts. I think they have 2.5 and 5-year contracts that they
Right.
sign as staff members.
Yes, exactly.
And it used to be that the Sea Org members would manage the advanced organizations, and then in continental areas of the world, they would run that region of Sea Org organizations or normal Scientology organizations. There'd be a Sea Org unit called a Continental Liaison Unit, or a flag liaison. They have all these different levels of Sea Org members that manage other Sea Org members and then just regular Scientology organizations. Anyway, so every year they have a thing called Sea Org Day where they have the day off. The Sea Org members get a day off. It's the
Well,
one.
no, I wouldn't overstate it. It was not a day off. It was a day where you're doing activities
Team.
outside of your normal assigned duties. It's not a day off. A day off implies that you can go see a movie or, go to a restaurant.
That's
And there
true.
was none of that.
There's organized team activities like tug of war, where you can get your hands burnt
Exactly.
off.
Which
Or
historically ended awfully. The amount of people that broke arms during those types of activities.
fingers, arms, or the skin actually got ripped off their hands from the other guys pulling it so fast, and these guys not wanting to lose, and it just. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of Sea Org Day horror stories. Usually, it's just a couple hundred Sea Org members getting sunburnt is really the worst of it. But some years there'd be some injuries. But either way, they have. I remember my first at the international headquarters. In the 80s and the 90s, there used to be Sea Org days on a kind of a regular basis, and I got to the international headquarters in I want to say it was May, June of 1990, and on August 10th, 1990, there was a massive flood that flooded the entire headquarters of Scientology. And that was 2 days before Sea Org Day was supposed to happen. And needless to say, we did not have a Sea Org Day that year. We were all signed a condition of confusion by David Miscavige himself for allowing a natural disaster to occur and destroy the property. We were assigned basically a low level in Scientology of things we had to do.
He was just especially angry since his bedroom got flooded with mud.
Well, also the thing, he'd been building these luxury little bungalows for Tom Cruise for many years, and they were all flooded
Yep.
in like an hour. They were flooded and mud and filled with mud. Anyway, um, so that is what the Sea Org is today. It's this group of people, these group of Sea Org members, and I would say there's probably about, this is important in terms of scale for later on in this story, but I'd say there's about 5,000 Sea Org members worldwide. All of them added up, there's maybe 4 or 5,000 of them that are left, that are here, right? They're working today. Okay. And they're always trying to get new people into the Sea organization. It's very hard. And L. Ron Hubbard was convinced that the best way to get a new Sea Org member into the Sea Org was to show them a slideshow of all these cool things that, and the original Sea Org slideshow, I think, was comprised of shots that he had taken himself and assembled into this slideshow. And over the years, the slideshow was updated, but L. Ron Hubbard was insistent that this slideshow be in every single place where there was a Sea organization, and that it was shown regularly to Scientologists in effort to recruit them into the Sea organization. And Hubbard literally thought, they're going to watch this slideshow and they're going to sign a contract. It's as easy as that. You just show them the slideshow.
Yeah, the work is done. Just sit down, enjoy the slideshow, and you're ready to sign away a billion years. And by the way, as Catherine, our amazing mod, commented in the chat, we would be remiss not to mention that another stated, or the exact quote from Hubbard is, the purpose of the Sea Org is to, quote, put ethics in on the planet and the universe, unquote, which is definitely relevant to our upcoming conversation here.
Yeah, that is true. They are they're the police of Scientology, but they're also the police for the planet. Like, they're the ones that are supposed to like sort out all the nonsense. Talk about sorting out nonsense. Anyway, so that's the Sea Org, and I just had to clean this. Hail Xenu. Was that you or me? I didn't do that. That was you.
That was me. Sorry. My bad. I will remove my fingers now.
Yeah, we got just random comments being put up. Okay, so that's pretty much the Sea Org backstory. That's where they started. Hubbard thought this thing up in the 60s. Oh yeah, and on this slideshow, he had this bright idea about the slideshow in the 70s. Well, because he had the idea then, it could never be changed. So like in the 2000s, there were slide projectors set up showing slides.
Yep.
Of these images that Hubbard had dictated were the only way to get people into the Sea organization. So this thing's been going on for a long time.
Yep.
That they show these slideshows and try to get these guys in.
It's a silly example of their inability to change.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun if we put together our own slideshow. And we're going to tell you how this all ties in to our friend Hail Xenu, Lord Xenu, how this ties into that whole thing, because it's kind of wild, guys. It's kind of wild. Let's see if we can get this. I just realized I almost had it at the end of the slides. I got to put it back to the beginning here real quick, guys. Here we go. So for anybody who is thinking that we're just making this up, or this is like, some kind of I got to get out of here. Sorry, guys. Sorry. We're having technical fun here. I can't put up. Can you put up the slide? It won't let me.
Let me try.
I got to.
You ready? I'm going to try now.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Let me see if I can forward it. Nope, I can't forward it either.
Oh, okay. Just tell me when.
Okay. So basically, this whole Lord Xenu thing comes from Hubbard, and this is his writing. And as somebody who worked at Golden Era Productions for many years, we dealt with a lot of Hubbard's original handwritten materials, and we also worked with his recordings. So not only is there Hubbard's own writing of the Lord Xenu of this story with the body thetans and all that stuff. But there's also a lecture called Assists, which you can Google on the internet. It's available. You can listen to it, and it's in Hubbard's own voice, and he tells other parts of this Xenu story as sort of a back story to what of what went on in this whole thing. And you can see in here the head of the Galactic Federation, 76 planets around larger stars visible from here. They had an overpopulation problem. And the overpopulation problem was basically tasked to Lord Xenu to solve. Okay. And then that's how the story starts. And go to the next part.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the this is the Galactic Federation as we know it, and then if you go to the next one there, you can see that I'm just waiting for you to go to the next one.
Yep.
There you go.
Multitasking here.
That's the Galactic Intergalactic Council there. Okay, you don't mess with these guys. Okay, they say, Lord Xenu, you got to get this overpopulation thing sorted out. Then you're the one that's going to do it. Okay, so then you have these guys called the loyal officers. Now, the loyal officers are, we don't know. Can you go to the next one?
Yep.
This is probably gonna drive me nuts, guys, that Claire won't go to the next one.
Okay, I'm laser focused now. Don't get salty.
Next one.
Okay.
How many times you have to say next one? There's Lord Xenu. Okay. It could have been. We don't know. It's hard to say. There's so many pictures of this guy floating around. We don't know which ones are the right ones or the best ones. But then you have this other group called the Loyal Officers. Now, the Loyal Officers are in the next slide. And these guys they're supposed to basically work. Now, this is confusing to me. Okay. There is a little bit of, do they work for the council? Are they helping Lord Xenu? I think they work for the council, but they're trying to basically blame this all on Lord Xenu and that he shouldn't have he rounded up billions and billions of these people. And the loyal officers found out about it and they were like, we got to get him. Okay. But before they could get him, he got all these people loaded into DC-10s and he started GTFOing like light speed. This guy's going. You can see how fast it is in this next picture that's going to be shown. And you can see in the next picture, there you go. They got light speed travel, these guys. It took them 9 light years to get to Earth. Okay. And they had tons and tons of these planes. I mean, they had these planes, they had these next ones. They had all these planes that they're bringing everybody to Earth. And then when they got to Earth, they dropped those guys into volcanoes. Okay. Now, there was a lot of, we're talking about, there was several 100 billion of these aliens that they brought here. And they dropped them in these volcanoes. And then when the alien souls started coming out of the volcanoes, they would cluster up. And they would get into balls and there would be clusters of aliens and then bigger clusters. And there could be 10,000 aliens in this one little cluster. So Xenu had to scoop them all up because he didn't want them to go back to the other planet somehow. So he had to scoop them all up. And then once he got them all rounded up, then he showed them images of Jesus and the cross and other religious symbols and stuff. And they were essentially programmed with these images by Lord Xenu.
Also referred to as implants
This is
in Scientology language.
Yeah. Implants is a big thing in Scientology. Whenever you do something or something is happening in your life that you're reacting to or you're doing something that's irrational, it's thought that it's from one of these implants that you got billions and billions of years ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so this is why, and this is Hubbard says, this is why humans believe in all these things is because they were implanted to believe that. Anyway, so after they get implanted, then Xenu sets them all free. And what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to go find bodies and they attach themselves to these bodies, and one body could have millions and millions of these little alien souls, also called body thetans by L. Ron Hubbard. And
BTs
we
activate.
BTs activate. Yeah, we like to refer to them as space cooties. Okay, but remember, the loyal officers were still on Xenu's tail, and they ended up following him to Earth, and they had 6 years of battle with Xenu until they finally captured him. And then they were able to put him in a mountain. They built a jail cell into the side of a mountain, and they electrified the bars so that Xenu could never escape. Now, this is a picture of Xenu in uniform as we think he was when they caught him, but we don't know. I mean, he could have been not in uniform when they got him, and he could have just been locked up in there when he was like going out to get his paper and coffee in the morning or something, and then he got caught, and he could look like that. But we're going to put him back in the uniform because it works better for the rest of the slides if he does have his uniform with him. And also, he was in there for 75 million years. But now, guess what? Remember when they said he was in the electrified cells that were running off batteries in the mountain? Well, we don't know what kind of batteries these were. This is battery tech. I mean, they had interstellar travel, so they might have had some decent battery tech, but 75 million years is a long time. Even the Energizer Bunny is going to like tap out after a few million years. So basically that stuff is going to run out or has run out. Okay. So, and you still got all these aliens flying all over the place. And then you got Xenu that's back out. I don't know that this is a good thing that the Scientologists, because the Scientologists have been exorcising these demons, right? These guys are flying around and they're going into the Scientologists. Scientologists are using the e-meter to locate the space aliens. This is what you learn about. This is what the Sea Org are protecting, that you using an e-meter can basically pinpoint the time and location of these space aliens, and then you can exorcise them out of yourself. So like guys like Tom Cruise that are doing OT levels, he's getting rid of aliens. He's using the e-meter and he's locating aliens and he's exorcising them from himself. That is how they think it works. There's no way to do this without the e-meter. And then what do you end up with? You end up with an alien population that's homeless. And they're, we can't have these guys on the side of the highway. That's not going to help traffic. But more my point in this is that what about if these were basically people, these were refugees from another galaxy. They got to have friends and family back in wherever they came from. And if they get here and find out that, for one, I don't know if the Xenu thing, if he was supposed to do what he did, but even after that, to then further victimize them by kicking them out of their human host bodies that they've been living in. And also, they've been doing this for 75 million years. They might have squatter rights at this point, that they've been here so long doing this. Who are we to say what they can or can't do? But then you got this Galactic Council guys. They're probably not excited about the project. So, but then you also have these Sea Org members, and the Sea Org members, they think they're like Supermen guarding the OT levels. And meanwhile, all these aliens are flying all around. The Sea Org members are doing nothing about the aliens. They don't have a plan. They don't have any kind of programs, nothing. What they're doing is they're putting all of L. Ron Hubbard's materials onto stainless steel plates and gold records, his lectures, and they're putting these into the sides of mountains. And they're putting them into the sides of mountains. Claire is really not following along with the story. I think she's reading the comments or something.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted there. My bad.
Members are the Sea Org members.
Was it so obvious?
The Sea Org members are putting stuff into these mountains. They did it. They have in New Mexico. They have them in Washington, in California, and they're all these things built into the side of the mountains. Now, when Xenu comes back, like here, now, see, you had it, and then you went backwards. You can never go backwards. Okay, so there's Xenu now. He's out of the jail. Now, is he going to work with the Sea Org? I don't think so. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. And also, I don't think if you've got an alien who was an overlord who rounded up billions and billions of people, is capable of interstellar travel at light speeds and have all these contraptions and that projector screen. Did you see how big that projector screen was? Anyway, this guy's got tech. Okay. You think we're going to go with a guy, 4'13" guy named Dave? Or you think we're going to go with Xenu? I'm Team Xenu. I'm Hail Xenu. I'm just saying. Anyway, and then you got all these aliens that are still flying around. They're definitely going to be problems. Remember, we got the aliens that got here before. They took all these space planes that got here. So if they show up, I'm pretty sure I know exactly where they're headed. Okay. If they get back to Earth, they're going straight to the Scientology building. That's how it's going to be. Okay. Now, I personally, I don't want to be anywhere near a Scientology facility when those guys show up, because that's going to be a huge, huge problem. Okay. Now I know that I've just dumped a whole bunch of data on you. What can we do? What are we going to do against the aliens? Well, the one thing you could do just to show your support for Lord Xenu is get a Hail Xenu cup, one of these guys. You could get a Hail Xenu cup, or you could get a Xenu is my homeboy cup, whatever you want, whatever it's going to take so that Xenu knows that you're with him. Even a Hail Xenu hoodie, that's a baller move right there. That's a very heavy move, getting a Hail Xenu Volcanic Classic hoodie to remember his good old days, the volcano days when things were good. There also is a lot of that's the end of the slideshow, guys. There is a lot of talk that there's actually a link. I'll put it in the link in the description below. But there's a lot of people that have scientifically analyzed Hubbard's story of Xenu, and they're saying, I think he lists out in his that writing that I showed you in that document, he lists out every single location where a volcano was that Xenu dropped the aliens in. And in that document, somebody's gone through that and said, I think it's 14 of those locations were not volcanoes 75 million years ago. So they didn't exist that way. That happened as the years went on.
Yeah, and I
So
will say you put a lot more work into this slideshow, and many people have asked many more questions than certainly I ever did when reading the materials. You just have to go in that moment. You just kind of go, okay, brain block.
I love these
Just
comments here. There's one from Love Food Kitchen says, Superman, Marc's got a very high opinion of how Sea Org members look there. No, that's how L. Ron Hubbard and Sea Org members think of themselves. They think they're saving the world. They literally think that they're saving the world and they're protecting these materials. And that's another thing that a lot of people should know. I would say about 95% of Sea Org members and Scientologists, for that matter, maybe 90%, they don't know this Xenu story. Of all the people in Scientology, remember I talked about that cruise ship, the Free Winds? Every year they have it's called the Maiden Voyage Anniversary event, and they all travel to this location. There's only about 1,000 of these guys that go to this thing, that are the highest level OTs on the planet. The OT7s and the OT8s, I think, are the only ones that are really allowed to go to this shindig.
And to be fair, it's probably much lower than that by now, with the amount who have passed from cancer and everything else. Realistically, the numbers are probably much lower.
Yeah, this is not a Carnival cruise scene, guys. It's not young people going on this cruise. These are some older folks that are going on this cruise. Most of
mind you, Dougie Fresh performed at one of those.
Yeah, but he didn't know about the Xenu stuff either. He didn't. He was a entertainer on there.
Right.
He didn't go there because he was getting rid of space goodies.
Right.
But
for sure.
A lot of the people that are at these things are the upper level guys, and there is about 1,000 of these guys floating around between the OT7s and the OT. There might be more OT7s, but not any OT7 is allowed to go to this place. The ones that mostly are at these things have to be OT8s, or like if the husband's an OT8 and the wife's an OT7, then and they've given millions and millions of dollars, the wife's getting to go. That's usually the OT7s are allowed to go.
Yeah.
But regardless, if you have a friend that's a Scientologist and you start talking to them about aliens, it's very likely, unless they've been in for a long time and they've given hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to Scientology, they do not know about the aliens. And when people talk about the aliens and they talk about body thetans, Scientologists think, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. It's called a thetan. Because in regular Scientology, beginning Scientology, you find out about thetans, but there's never a mention of body thetans. So when Scientologists hear people say body thetan, they go, oh, they don't understand. They're getting it mixed up. They don't know that that's what you're going to find out on OT3. And the part that I've always struggled with figuring, like, what do these guys think? They've been defending, oh, there's no aliens, there's no aliens, there are no aliens. And then they find out there are aliens. When I was there was a vendor who asked me point blank, dude, is it true you guys believe in aliens? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I was like, that's crazy. We don't.
Yep. I was asked the same thing by a physical therapist one time, and I was like, no, absolutely not. But mind you, they also asked me if there were guns buried in the Golden Era golf course. Yeah. There's a lot of stories floating around. Some of them have pieces of truth and others don't.
Yeah, it's definitely a wild thing with just the fact that this is their origin story, if you want to call it that, one of many. But this is like the main one. And the reason we know it's the main one is because it's the whole reason the Sea Org exists, is to protect this information, to archive this information, and to run Scientology with this information.
Right.
So
much so that the reason a lot of these materials are even on the internet is because I think it was 2 or 3 people in the 80s dressed up as Sea Org members and went to AOSH Europe, the advanced org in Denmark, and they pretended to be missionaries, which, that's Sea Org member title that is their orders are to be followed. And they collected the OT materials and then published them on the internet.
Yeah. So talk about protecting the materials. The Sea, like the South Park, is maybe the Sea Org's most ultimate fail of all time.
Right.
Because South Park put all those materials on just to give them to everybody. And Sea Org members or Scientologists will tell you, oh, that's not true. That's not real. That's squirrels making up stuff. No, that's Hubbard, direct from Hubbard. There is some artist interpretation, and they do say thetan levels instead of thetan. Instead of reading E-meter reads, they call them thetan levels and whatever. But I think that's more for comedy's sake, not for, that it's inaccuracy.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild, guys. I'm going to, you want to read some of the comments real quick? I'm going to just refresh my screen because I don't have any control over comments or switching or doing anything. And I have to in order to do this. So if I duck out, guys, that's why. I'm just going to reset my thing and see if that works.
Sounds good. All right. So here we go. Once a witness, Jehovah's Witnesses cult. Question: do Sea Org members get good food? Can they buy their own food at McDonald's? So Marc and I were at the headquarters in Hemet. And so no, the food that we had was not good. But in the early days, it was pretty good. They had a pastry chef, Panuccio TZ, and meals were provided. However, in the later years, it became, if you were in a lower condition, you would lose dining privileges, things of that nature. I'm sure in LA that Sea Org members probably do buy food when they are, out. Catherine would probably agree with me on this. There were a handful of times when Marc and I were at the headquarters that we would be able to go to Jack in the Box on a motorcycle, just like half a mile down the road. But, when you're getting $46 a week, you don't have a huge amount of budget for food. So there you go. Catherine Olson. Oh yeah, I did this one. The purpose of the Sea Org is to put ethics in on the planet and the universe. Yes. Hi, Jason. Hello, Claire and Mark. Still a dedicated fan. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Once a witness again. Question: how many Sea Org members reached the state of clear? That's a great question. And when we were there, very few. In fact, the only reason I ended up doing the upper levels is because I was told by Shelley Miscavige that if I didn't get through them by a certain date, then I was going to get kicked off my position and put on heavy manual labor. So I was under a little bit of pressure to get through. And because it was an order from her, I was made to do it. And, so I could comply. But I don't think, I mean, Mark, you had mostly interrogations, right? Fair to say?
Yeah, I had Tom Cruise auditing me on my the beginning introductory auditing you get in Scientology, and then I had a lot of they're called security checks where you just ask questions,
Yep.
interrogations on the e-meter basically.
Yeah, or the other form of interrogations was false purpose rundown, which is the same. You're being interrogated, and then you're going to find what evil purpose prompted you to do whatever bad things you might or might not have confessed to. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even read Dianetics, so I certainly wasn't clear, and I didn't have any. I don't think I had any auditing that would get me anywhere near clear. But I was there for. I joined the Sea Org in 1989, and then I went to the international headquarters in 1990, and then we left in 2005. So I was there for over 15 years, and I got about, I'd say, a few months worth of auditing in total. Like if I went every day, it counted up to a few months. So the Sea Org members, unless you are on a post where you're supposed to oversee those secret levels, then most people don't get to those levels. And the people that do get to those levels, in almost all instances, have some relation to working with those, or their job function is related to them. Like even if you were a regular executive in the Sea Org and you got up to those levels somehow, or you were that before you got into the Sea Org, you got up to the OT levels before you joined the Sea organization. In almost all cases, they would either put you on producing those materials or translating those materials or printing those, having something to do with those. There's not a lot of people to choose from in the Sea Org that can do that kind of stuff. And there were points when they had to do all hands. So like if there was a big evolution to update those secret materials, anyone who was in the Sea Org at that location at the international headquarters that was OT3 or above would be like tasked, like, hey, you got to come and work on this for the next few weeks because you're the only person who can. Is there a tug of war I missed out on? Oh yes, Jackson. There was in the you missed it. There was a bunch of Sea Org days, Jackson, where they did tug of wars, and they used these big giant ship ropes. Like somebody went to a shipyard and got these ropes, and there was like 100 people on either side of the tug of war, and they pulled when one team won. It was the line was so long that no one knew that they'd lost yet, and they were still holding on, and the rope was just sliding through their hands, and a bunch of people. I think one year some people had to get like bandages. It was like a lasting. It took weeks for their hands to heal because the skin was just pulled right off of them.
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
Good times. Okay. I'm sorry. I got back in and I was in the middle. You were in the middle of reading comments.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. I did want to say though about the state of clear for Sea Org members. It was supposed to be that when an organization reached the size of St. Hill, which there were certain numbers statistically from when Scientology was booming in the 60s, that when an organization was granted St. Hill size, they were supposed to have a team of Sea Org members come into the organization called the Universe Corps, who were then supposed to get the staff up the bridge, up beyond, OT levels, state of clear, and superpower rundowns. And I never saw that happen personally. Maybe it's happened since I left. I don't know. It's been a long time, a hot minute since 2005. Oh, and also, too, let's not forget, honey, that since we got out, they have now started sending members of the Sea organization to these ideal orgs. Whatever the story that David Miscavige is giving about that, and it's obviously a recruitment issue, and because you cannot open an ideal org with 3 staff. So, for example, that's how Catherine ended up at Columbus, Ohio Ideal Org as a member of the Sea organization.
Yeah, they're not able to recruit staff members for Scientology or Sea Org members. And most Sea Org members, to be honest, in the management areas and in Los Angeles, there's tons and tons of Sea Org members. They're just doing busy work. There's not really anything that they're like, if they weren't there, it wouldn't make any difference in the world. And so sending them out to these organizations is just a good way to utilize them and then not have to worry about getting any people. The fact that there's so many organizations that need Sea Org members to man them means there's not even enough public Scientologists or civilian Scientologists in that area to make into staff members, much less Sea Org members. That's just ridiculous. Are we going to do some more questions here?
Sure. Yep. There's some great questions.
Yeah. You want to put them up?
Yes. Let me get on that.
I'll put this one up. Salted Caramel Whiskey says, do members brag about going up the bridge? Do they feel superior to others? You're not really in Scientology. It's sort of a frowned upon to brag about your status.
Yep.
But if you just say I'm OT8, that's not bragging, but that's how they brag. They just say what their status is. That's the brag. You're not supposed to be like, oh, I did. There's actually a Hubbard policy where he says you can't say, oh, I did OT8 in 5 minutes. And, you're not supposed to say that sort of thing because somebody else might have taken 8 years to do OT8. So you're not supposed to compare. You're not supposed to compare notes. But
clearly, I mean, Marc and I never talked about it.
No.
When I did the OT
and
level.
Also, when people would always be like, oh, how high did you get? I'll be like, I haven't even read Dianetics, man. Like, I always say like, oh, I brag about not having done anything. I mean, even Claire's freeloader bill, it was like 98,000 or
96 and change, which even that's a story for another day. I was looking through it. There's so many things not on there. And for example, it says I had 1 hour of word clearing. I mean, that is the biggest.
You could get joke. 1 hour word clearing in one night. So if you got 10 hours of word clearing, that would be the worst underestimate in the world. Even if you got 100 hours of word clearing, that might be average. But if they literally put 1 hour on her bill, like, we're going to throw in an hour of this.
Token gesture. Just so you know you didn't get it free. Just so you know.
But
crazy.
But my bill was half of Claire's bill, the bill I got. And and to be fair, there was a ton of things on my bill that I don't even think I did. They were really scratching this, like trying to dig up anything and everything they could throw on this thing, because I notoriously did not do that much at all.
No.
So yeah, thank you for that, Salted Caramel Whiskey.
Yep. Dr. Paul in the house. Neurodoc. So Sea Org Days is the athletics days for everyone involved. Sea Org Day, a massive day with fun-filled, action-packed activities to participate in. Everyone's sleep deprived, so no energy. Yeah, pretty much. That kind of nails it.
The best part is that this is also the day when Sea Org members will sometimes get to go out in the wild. So if you're at the international headquarters, that whole property is like a lush paradise with a lake, and there's paths and there's all kinds of stuff. It's not nice, but it's nicer than a an asphalt parking lot, which they have in Los Angeles. So we would just go to that property, and sometimes there might be a movie out. There might be some buses that'll take you to the movies or take you to bowling or something like that night. But in other locations, like in Los Angeles or in Clearwater, they got to find a place to take a few thousand people that can go and do all this stuff. And so I think there was a story. Tony Ortega had an article up on his website. We should put a link to it, but it basically showed
Yep.
there was a whole bunch of buses out somewhere out in Clearwater Beach or Sand Key Park or whatever they call it. And that's what they're doing. They're taking those guys to the beach. And if you ever wanted to see a bunch of white pasty people having fun in the summer sun, go to a Sea Org day. Some of these people, they ain't never seen, their bodies ain't never seen the sun because they're taking buses between buildings. And then the only time they go outside the buildings is at nighttime to go home and sleep. So yeah, there's a lot of white pasty people. What else?
Okay, here
We
we
got
go.
a lot of good ones here.
Yvonne Jensen, non-Scientologist here. Do you think if it hadn't been so violent, abusive, if things had been different, that you would have stayed longer because you believed in the cause? Well, my answer to that is I was born into Scientology. My mother joined this organization when I was 4 years old. So in the back of my head for many, many years, the door had been locked on the thoughts that I just so wanted to just get out and live a normal life. And the only way I ended up getting to that point, of course, was Marc escaping ahead of me. And it made me realize that I was completely miserable. And as hard as it seemed in the moment, I actually absolutely had to get out of there. So I was never, in other words, my point of that is Scientology was never a choice for me in the first place. I've told people many times, the moment Scientology became a choice, when I left, I had nothing more to do with it from that point forward.
Yikes.
There you go.
I start a few comments here. So let's just see. Lillian, I'd love for you to do an interview stream with Ursula Caberta. She is one tough cookie and did so much in Germany to fight Scientology. Much respect and kudos to her and you too. Thank you very much, Lillian. I've spent a ton of time with Ursula, and I know she's done some interviews with some people here and there. And I think, didn't we do something with Ursula on our channel?
Not on our channel. No, I mean, of course, you went and visited
Yeah, we'll
her
put a link.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a
Yeah.
link to the conferences I did in
Yeah.
Hamburg with that were basically organized by Ursula and the German government.
But
But
yes, I would love to interview Ursula. She's an amazing person. I've never actually, you've met her in person. I haven't met her. I stayed home with the kids for those conferences.
yeah, the
So,
funny thing about Ursula is Ursula has one of the most complete L. Ron Hubbard Scientology libraries
mhm.
of anyone. She has like a full set of everything that's ever Scientology's ever put out, and then she has it in multiple languages. So when people come to her for help, she can pull out the policy in their language that has to do with Scientology and then use that against Scientology to kind of recompense that person if they want their money back or whatever it is. That's a lot of the ways that she helps people that have left Scientology. She actually was doing kind of what the Aftermath does from her government position. People would come to her and say, I lost my whole life and I lost my whole family. They're in Scientology. And she'd get that person a job through their whatever social programs existed. She'd get them a place to live and she would help them get back on their feet. But from her job in the government as like a cult overwatch department.
Yeah. Yeah. And she would always use Scientology policies to say, hey, you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z according to your policy, Scientology. So fix this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Pete Jensen TV says, I can't put ethics in on my own home. Seared members are putting ethics on the planet and he can't even put
And the universe. Yeah, no, I
in
know.
the universe.
We feel the struggle, Pete. It's real.
It's Denver Steve-O. Hey, Denver
Hey,
Steve-O.
Denver Steve-O in the
Question,
house.
how did you save your extra money? Did you just keep it in a sock and collect it up until you blew? You know, that's a great question, Denver Steve. There was a thing going, something happened where a Seared member kind of got stranded somewhere by accident and they had no way to get a hold of anybody. They had no money. They had nothing. and they'd had no identification. So they were basically just stranded like Starman. They got landed in a gas station somewhere and they didn't know what to do. And this prompted them to the Sea organization, the international headquarters. They set up a 1-800 line called 1-800-I-WANT-HELP. And if you could go to any payphone and just dial 1-800-I-WANT-HELP, and it would ring through to the security booth at the international headquarters. And then they'd somehow get this, where are you? I'm at AM/PM. Where? I don't know. And they'd find the streets names or whatever, and then they'd go get that person. But around that same time, they also organized any U.S. I want to say it was mostly US guys. I think you had to have a social security number and at least like a driver's license. If you had those things, you were encouraged to set up a bank account. And they actually, tell me if I'm remembering this right, I think they brought the bank people to the base and the bank people brought the paperwork.
Yes, they
And
absolutely did. Yeah.
and you just went in there, you filled out all the paperwork, you made copies of stuff for them, and they set up in near the reception of the international headquarters. And all these Sea Org members got it was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo? Yeah, it was Wells Fargo.
Yeah,
And
it
because
was.
of that, Claire and I had a Wells Fargo bank account that had, I mean, we probably paid $10,000 in overdraft fees because we'd have like $80 in there. And then we'd spend like $70 and then there'd be some kind of fee for something. And then it'd go minus, and then we get charged 45 or 35 bucks overdraft fee.
Yeah.
And
And let's not forget, we were paid in cash.
yes.
And we would then, like, the canteen did not accept debit cards. So we were just buying everything in cash.
Yeah.
So it was literally an exercise in futility because we had no money to put in the bank or any means to get to the bank to put money in, even if we wanted to.
Yeah. And the funny part of that is that we had that account until I escaped, the day I escaped. And when I was trying to, this is all in my book, but I was trying to get a bunch of money together, and I went and saw L. Ron Hubbard's great granddaughter, just granddaughter. And I said, hey, I need to borrow 250 bucks. She just wrote me a check for 250 bucks. And then the next morning when I escaped, the first place that I went to after the police helped me get a truck and everything and put my bike in there and went to U-Haul and got it all secure. The first place I went with the U-Haul was Wells Fargo to deposit that check from Roanne. And then when we met up, I think we had met up when we met up in Kansas City, and after you escaped, we saw this 250 charge hit our account.
Yep.
And I was like, what the hell is that? And I looked and I was like, Roanne canceled that check, babe. Roanne reversed the check like 2 weeks later. And I talked to Roanne. Roanne has since also escaped since then. And I talked to Roanne and she said, yeah, I didn't want them to know that I gave you the money.
Yep.
So I was trying to back out of this thing. And I don't think they even knew about that until after Roanne and I talked about it, or somebody told somebody, or I told somebody, and it got back to them.
Yeah.
But great questions tonight. Great questions.
Yes.
I'm just put this up because it starred. Amber says, comment, hi, Mark and Claire. It's been a while since I've made it live. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amber. Good to see you.
I don't know if you want to put up this Jay. You have to tell me which ones there's some that are to you. Dr.
Okay.
X. Hope all's well. Everyone's fine this day/night. Thank you, Dr. X.
Good to see you.
We've
Thank you
been
so much.
discussing an idea that we are going to start like kind of like a monthly award, and we think Dr. X might be in the running to get that. So we'll
Definitely.
We'll see what happens on that.
And Paul, her partner.
Yes. Charlotte Arrows says, question, as a Sea Org member, were you pressured to give your limited funds to the IAS like public Scientologists are? No, we were never, unless you were a Sea Org who had millions of dollars, those Sea Org members were 100% pressured to give their money to the IAS or any of the things they get money from. Sea Org members were given there was a guy, the Hugheses, Greg Hughes, and I want to say Guillaume Lesèvre and Marc Yeager, they had some dough, but I think Greg Hughes had more than most, and he was pressured to give some of that dough over. I remember them, people basically berating him for having so much money and not giving it to Scientology.
Yeah, in the case of Marc Yeager and Guillaume, as I remember it, it was they had saved up tens of thousands of dollars from like early day bonuses when they were receiving bonuses, which had long since been canceled. And I specifically remember that David Miscavige made Marc and Guillaume donate all of that money to Sea Org reserves as part of one of their lower conditions. Like, this is how they were going to make up the damage.
Yeah, I heard another story, and again, some of these stories we heard at the M base, and some of them were from David Miscavige. But one of the stories that I heard in one of these meetings where everyone was supposed to confess their sins was that when Scientology were running the campaign against Eli Lilly and Prozac in the 90s, early 90s,
in response to the Time Magazine article,
they were driving Lilly's stock down and down and down. And one of the stories that was admitted to or told about in one of these meetings was that Guillaume and Marc Yeager, who were the ones approving to pay for all the ads against Eli Lilly as part of the International Finance Committee, when they were just about to stop doing those ads, they scooped up a ton of Lilly stock.
Yep,
because
what
they
I heard
knew
too.
the stock would just go up after that. And it was like a little bit of insider trading because they were the ones driving the stock down intentionally and then scooping up some of that stock before it went on the rebound. And I was sort of like, whoa, that, like, even as a Sea Org member, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, or it's at least dishonest in some way. I'm pretty sure that's not kosher in the real world. Anyway, I don't even know to this day if that's something they could get busted for. But anyway, here's another Dr. X. It says, hi all. So the uniforms you get for Sea Org Day, were they given out on that day, or was it part of the uniform you get when you first joined the Sea Org? Did they take heaps of pics for propaganda purposes from this for recruitment? Very good question.
Very good question.
And very, it's kind of a crazy thing in the Sea organization. Uniforms are one of the most complicated and problematic issues in the Sea organization because these are the only clothes you have. And in a lot of cases, you're only given one or two outfits. So if you don't wash your stuff, you're going to wear at least multiple things multiple times a week before they get washed, or you have to do laundry every few days because you only have so many sets of shirts and pants and socks and all that kind of stuff. But the uniform that you wear on Sea Org Day is called your Class A or your dress uniform. And they had dress blues and they had dress whites. Depending on where you were and what season it was, you're supposed to have a full set of dress blues and a full set of dress whites. And sometimes on Sea Org Day, people wouldn't have those things. And it's the day before Sea Org Day. You don't got them. And there was actually, this happened at the base. There was this girl, her name was Caroline. And Caroline was, I think she was in the qualifications division. And it was found out that she had stolen a uniform part from somebody. I think it was even a patch. She had ripped someone's patch because you get in big trouble if you're out of uniform.
Yep.
And that includes your rank and rating. So if you don't have your correct rank and rating, that is a ding. And she had stole a patch or a hat, or she had stolen some uniform part from somebody.
Yeah, it was a patch from Samantha, remember?
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. I mean,
big,
probably like 100 people were on the suspect list, and they
yes.
were getting interrogated, and it almost became this thing. Like, we're talking about a piece of fabric that, what you think costs like 25 cents,
10 cents max.
Yeah. But it was almost that it turned into such a huge deal that no one was confessing. and that the sec checkers, the interrogators, were failing to find out and get a confession as to who did this. I think it even turned into like the 10 people on the final had been whittled down to the final suspect list. They weren't even allowed to go home until they figured out who did this.
And they told them, they said, you guys, we know one of you did it. None of you are ever going home until the one who did it confesses. The silliest part is this gal who stole this patch. There's only going to be so many people that would steal that patch because there's only so many people that were that rank at the international property. So as soon as they did it, as soon as they committed the crime, they narrowed it down to who it was going to be, no matter what. And anyway, it was a big deal at the international property. And she ended up being they found it was this Caroline girl, and she was very, very heavily shamed. And she was a dishwasher for many years after that. She was posted as a I think I want to even say the night dishwasher and in the galley. And then she eventually, when I escaped, she was my direct boss who said that I was going to go to the rehabilitation project force. So good times there, Caroline. So Dr. X, so you are given a very minimal quantity of uniforms, and you are given a set of, sometimes you're given these class A uniforms, the dress whites or the dress blues, but not always. And before Sea Org Day, there's a lot of people stressing, hey, I need to get a hat. Hey, I need to get this. You never gave me this, or you never get me that. Excuse me. And the best thing is that in the uniform closet for the international headquarters, no matter who had ever been issued pants or shirts or socks or whatever, if they escaped or they blew, all of their parts would go back into the pool. So when I first got into the international headquarters and went to go get my uniform, it was like thrift store shopping for uniform parts from prior Sea Org members who had escaped or blown. And those were the Sea Org uniforms you could, that was the pool of ones you could use, were the ones from past people who had blown, and they'd have stains in them, and they'd have tears and rips and be mishemmed, like different lengths on different legs. I mean, it was when we say Davies fake Navy, it is despicable. These guys, a Sea Org member would never pass a uniform inspection. You could pull any Sea Org member out of 100 Sea Org members, they would not pass a uniform inspection in any military unit in the world that is, recognized as a top-notch military unit. That would not happen for Sea Org members. Oh, Gary Jackson, I set that number up. Yes, he did.
Yes.
I had to write
the 1-800 I want help. I had to write high dollar checks found in staff members' U.S. mail to Religious Technology Center and to HCO, which is where the ethics officer works. So he's saying anytime a staff member received a high dollar check, it would not go to them. It would go to RTC and HCO.
Yeah, that's another thing. They are checking all of the mail coming in and all of the mail going out.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a bank statement, they know exactly how much you have in the bank. They're opening your bank statement before you get it.
It was also very common that family members would send in phones for their loved ones, and those would get confiscated too.
Yeah. Catherine Olson says, do you know why they don't make Class A uniforms anymore? Everyone wears their regular uniforms to the ceremony, because the regular uniforms now are better than the Class A uniforms that we were getting. The way the uniforms was the cheapest possible uniforms you could possibly get, manufactured in massively high volumes. The shoes were horrible. The jackets, the pant, everything was polyester trash. It was horrible. When RTC got new uniforms and they hired designers, and Claudio Lugli and Renata Lugli were the ones making all these uniforms for RTC, and David Miscavige and all these guys. When they started doing that, that's really when Dave was like, why don't we just make uniforms, real uniforms, nice uniforms for everybody? And then that's when that started to become a thing. And then it was like the Sea Org traditional Navy style uniforms were just thrown out. at that point, because everybody thought it was silly that they were wearing naval uniforms in the middle of the California desert in 120-degree heat. You're wearing long sleeve shirts, polyester shirts, and black wool pants in 120-degree weather in the desert. Like,
Yeah, and
somebody
not to
didn't do
mention the thing that's so ridiculous to me in hindsight is, like, for example, on Christmas when we would go to work, we were told, "Oh, just wear civilian clothing." That way it doesn't create look weird to the locals that we're working on Christmas Day. And I'm like, "What, you think they're literally that dumb? I mean, come on, that's just rude."
Yeah, look, and what Search members would do is they take their name tag off when they went to the store.
Right.
We weren't allowed to have our name tags on, so it would say like
Uh,
CMO International or RTC. You weren't allowed to have that because the only place that was at the international headquarters was Golden Era Productions, the media
right.
thing. Okay, Nika Casey Turing says, question: on your days off, if you ever got any, was it really a day off or did you spend it catching up on sleep and doing your laundry? No, you had to participate. They would have like a roll call. If you weren't at the team events, you get in trouble. So I'm sure
Oh,
people
I
would
read
sneak
that.
off and do
Yeah,
stuff.
I
But
read that question slightly differently, more in relation to when we would have Liberty, a day off, a day of
oh,
Liberty, which I think I had 3 in the 14 years that I was there. You had a lot more than I did. But still, so it would be always be a Sunday and you had to do your laundry in the morning and then you would be off from noon until the end of the night. If it was approved by the 5 people that had to sign off on it, which rarely happened in my case. PTS for life in the house. Oh, by the way, shout out to Jeff. Thank you so much for the interview you did with me this week. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to Jeff's channel, PTS for Life, please get on over there and do so. We appreciate it. All right. I met an ESO member in Ontario that was in for over 40 years and never reached clear. He said he was focused on the third and fourth dynamic. Ugh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep.
he was, huh?
Sounds like that was really working out for him. It's sad. And yeah, there are way too many elderly people in this organization that um, we need to get them out before they pass because they're running out of time. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. Trevanon, in January 2025, you'll be out for 20 years, I think. Yes, exactly. January for me will be January 24th, 2025 will mark 0 to age 30 in Scientology and 30 to 50. Holy moly, I can't believe I'm turning 50. Out of Scientology and exposing this dangerous and abusive cult. So I'm hoping to have my book done by then for that very anniversary.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, if you guys, I just wanted to mention it. If you, there wasn't a lot of entries in the Hail Xenu thing. There was like 35. So if you wanted to enter for the giveaway, make sure you do that because we are going to start doing it. And maybe even if you already did do it one more time because I might have because I refreshed, it might have reset it because now it says I wanted to see if anybody had done it, and I pushed refresh, and now it says 0. So
Oh,
maybe
oops.
you'll have to do it again because I might have screwed that one up. But yeah, there you go. 20 years. That's exactly right.
Here's another
Once a
one.
once a
Oh,
Claire and Mark, were you friends with ATAC while in the Sea Org? John ATAC wasn't at the location that we were at, and he was also there in a different set of decades. So he was in
well,
England.
yeah. Though
He was in
he was at St. Hill when I was there, but mind you, I was 6 or 7. So no, I did not know John Atack. The first time I remember hearing of him was hearing about a piece of blue sky, like it was this big bad thing, which is why I'm going to do a whole that's going to be one of my books for the series I'm doing, Life After Scientology, for sure. I have many exciting things coming for that. I'm very looking forward to it.
Yes. Another one from PTS for Life. It says, do you think the AO Canada will ever be opened? No. Is that the so he did a video about this because I saw this the other day, and there's a place in Canada that was called the Hockley Highlands, and that's where Scientology had a property, and they were going to eventually turn that into an advanced organization for Canada. And that is actually where my sister was stationed with who is now her husband. They were stationed at this place as Sea Organization members, and eventually they were gotten rid of.
I think it's more accurate to say that that's where she was banished to when you started becoming a troublemaker.
Sure, whatever, however you want to couch it.
Just saying, I think that's more accurate.
But
When
regardless,
you started becoming a pain in somebody's behind, they GTFO'd your sister to Canada.
regardless of all that, it's even now more abandoned. It was abandoned for a while, then Scientology bought it, and then my sister and her husband were there, and they were like maintaining the property and mowing the lawns, and they were part of the local firefighter volunteer, all this stuff. And then they left, and then it's just been in ruins since. There's actually a channel that went, like one of these people that explore abandoned properties, and they did a video, and they're digging through my sister's stuff that they'd left behind. They're going through all their stuff, like, look at this, it looks like they just left it.
Yeah.
Joni Caldwell says, supporting your good work. Good to see you back. Thank you,
Joni. So good to see you. Thank you for the amazing email you sent to me this week. It was just deeply meaningful to me. So
yeah, Philip Jones. Hey, Phil.
Yay. Hey, Phil.
Scientology can't even renovate Toronto org. They'll never get to the AO. Exactly. Scientology has abandoned buildings that they've purchased as part of this ideal organization program. They have places that have been sat empty for years, and in some cases over a decade. And cities are starting to figure out, we should just start charging these guys taxes, because it's a non-exempt when it's doing something that's non-exempt. Abandoned building is not exempt from being abandoned. You bought it, you got to fix it up or do whatever. And some cities are starting to charge them. Trevinon, Mark, did they charge you for the auditing TC gave you when you were his guinea pig? No, they conspicuously left all of that off of my invoice.
And to be fair, I'm sure there were more than one reason they did that, but he was doing student auditing on you, which means he didn't have the certification yet. So therefore, I don't think they even can charge for that. They don't charge anybody for the student auditing.
Yeah, which is funny, a logic that Claire has. Like, they can't do this. They can't charge you for anything.
I know. Okay.
Within their system of policies.
What's your point, Vanessa?
They're not allowed to charge for student auditing. Guess what? I don't care what you're allowed to charge for. I'm not paying any of it.
Yep.
So yeah, they didn't do that. I bet on Sea Org Day, everyone was punch drunk from exhaustion. Yeah, there is a lot of people, and even where we were at the international headquarters, because it was in the desert in August when we'd have Sea Org Day. So it was almost always triple digits when we'd have this. And invariably, people would go too hard, too fast, too long. And then, oh, did you hear what happened? They blah, 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 broke their arm or burned their hands or got sunburned or passed out or had an accident, motorcycle accident. It was Sea Org days where there was a lot of nonsense that would be surrounded on this. Matt Denny says, I read the OT materials the other week. It was some seriously crazy stuff. Absolute cuckoo. Woke up the next day, same as Mark, not even a sniffle. Yeah.
Yay.
That's the other thing that Hubbard says, is if the OT materials get into people's hands before they're ready for them, they will develop pneumonia and die from just the information about Xenu. That's going to give you pneumonia, because it's part of the trap and the implant station that Xenu. And so
Hubbard himself barely made it through. I mean, he had a motorcycle accident and all kinds of bad things happen as he was uncovering this.
The wall of fire is what they call OT3. It's called the wall of fire. And if you can get through to the other side of the wall of fire, then you're a true OT. And not only I did the wall of fire, I did the blazing pool of lava. I did it all, and not even a sniffle.
Yeah, I remember I said to you that night, so are you coming to bed? And you're like, no, but I'm just telling you right now, I'm going to read everything
I'm gonna
all the
read
way
it.
up through OT8. So if I'm done in the morning, if things go sideways, I love you and it's been real, but I've got to do this for myself. And I was like, wait, what?
Emanon says, question. So any position you held was never a choice. In the Sea Org, there is a policy that you learn when you do the Welcome to the Sea Org course, or the Welcome to the Sea Org tapes, or whatever. And that is any job assigned you do, no matter what. You don't have a
Well,
choice where you go, when you go there. It's any duty assigned to you. That's your that's your duty. You do it.
and that's even part of the code of a Sea Org member that
Yeah.
you have to learn verbatim.
Yep. So SO assigned as a staff at an org get an SO day. I don't know about that. That might be a Catherine for a question. A Catherine for question. That might be a Catherine for question. That might be a question
Question
for
for
Catherine,
Catherine.
because she's one of the most recent Sea Org members that's gotten out in the wild and that will talk to us. And I think I'm gonna say if they did, it would just be like they'd get to go do something for the day. It wouldn't be. I don't think they'd be doing tug of wars in the park in Columbus, Ohio. But
No.
but yeah. So we'll see if Catherine is able to answer that. Michael, thank you for that. Stupid doo. Sea Org Day, a day to go out and collect all the important bee pollen. Yes, that's another Tom Cruise reference because
Oh, Catherine said we did get a Sea Org day in Columbus.
Oh well, what was it? What'd you do, Catherine?
I think she's probably still typing more. She just wanted to get that out there as
Okay.
quick as
Good,
possible.
good, good. We spent
Oh,
it at the
yeah.
lake at the apartments. They spent it at the lake, by the lake at the apartments. Okay, so they had some apartments that the Sea Org members stayed in, and they spent it by the lake. So there you go. They're even out in Columbus. They're getting that good old vitamin D on Sea
Yeah.
Org Day.
And we'll also include a link to Tony Ortega's blog. There was a video that somebody sent in that he posted, I think, yesterday,
Yeah.
of some Sea Org members in Orlando. This is wacky 2 minutes of
What's in
video.
Orlando?
They're Sea Org members.
I know, but why would they be in Orlando?
They were sent to Orlando org, the same as Catherine was sent to
Oh, you mean like
Columbus org?
Orlando org, the Sea Org
Yes.
members from that org had a
Yes.
Sea Org day as well. Yeah. If
Yes.
there's a Sea Org installation in Los Angeles, wherever it is, they all went somewhere. If they're and this is another great thing. Whenever people start attacking the Sea Org for not letting these guys get days off and not letting them have time and everything, guess what they do? They start letting them have days off, and they let them go visit their families. Sometimes they send a handler with them when they go to visit the family, but they let them do Sea Org days. So us talking about all the horrible things in the Sea Org is actually good for the Sea Org members that are still stuck there, because then they are able to go out to the beach one day a year and go have some fun. And sometimes they're allowed to go see their family. So if you have Sea Org members, if you have family members that are in the Sea organization, you're trying to find out what's up with them, write them a nice letter saying that Billy Bob and Tina are getting married and they're invited, and you'd love to host them for the weekend or something like that. And the chances are they're going to get to go. Don't be crazy and talk about Xenu in this. We got to play it cool. You got to be like, show loving support, and you don't want them to miss this, and blah 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 blah. And it's likely the chances of them being able to go are far greater than they used to be, because they kind of have to let these people, because then the families start complaining and creating problems. You can't have it. There's a question that's starred that I keep running across, and you don't unstar it or show it, so I don't know what you want to do. So who provided the medical care? The dentist, or did they go to the hospital? Was there an ambulance on hand, or were people driven by other Sea Org members? This is a very mixed bag thing. If David Miscavige is on the property, they're not allowed to call 911. They're not allowed to call for an ambulance or any of that. They have to take the person, collect them up, and then bring them to the ambulance or to the hospital, to the ER or whatever. The dentist was not the person who did the medical care. They actually had a person that was over the dentist that was called the medical officer or the medical liaison officer. And those people were the ones that would liaise with the hospital or whatever you were trying to get, contact lenses or optometrist, or whatever your problem was. They were the ones that take you to the place and bring you back. And but sometimes these medical office people would go rogue, and they'd start giving shots, and they'd start doing stuff,
Doing
and
IV drips and things like this
IV
too.
drips, and even
Flu
though they weren't,
shots.
say that last part again.
Flu shots. We
Yeah.
got flu shots from them a bunch of times.
And vitamin shots. That was
Yeah.
another big thing. They were given drips, like vitamin drips, and they were doing stuff that I think you're supposed to be a registered nurse in order to do that, like in an official capacity.
You are.
These were just Sea Org members that were just they were just like, it's going to be a giant waste of time to take you into town to do this. I'm going to stick you myself, and they'd do it. And there was one gal, the redhead, Cynthia Rathbun.
Yeah,
She was no
related
relation
to
to
Marty
Marty
Rathbun.
Rathbun. She was married to a guy named Ronnie Rathbun, who was the chief steward. No relation to Marty.
Yep.
Her name was Cynthia Rathbun, and she was the medical liaison office. And she got in trouble for giving somebody shots in their backside for, or actually lancing some things that you get in your backside from sitting a lot, or to trying to put too much pressure on that back part. And when that got found out about it, she did it to somebody that David Miscavige would run into or have conversations with. And somehow David Miscavige got word that this broad was lancing things off of somebody's backside between the cracks where the Great Lord split them. And yeah, she wasn't a medical liaison.
But even just to add to that, so in July 99 is when I had my massive motorcycle accident, broke 2 bones in my left leg, broke my shoulder. David Miscavige was on the property, which meant that they were not allowed to call an ambulance. So they put a splint on my leg, shoved me into this little red Honda that was driven by the medical officer, and drove me to Hemet Hospital. And by the time we got to Hemet Hospital, I was in so much shock, and it took about 7 hours of testing for them to see if I was actually going to just lose my foot altogether. And the emergency room personnel were absolutely livid. Like I remember they said, "Who did this to you?" And of course I couldn't say anything. So I just said, "I don't know." That was my answer. And because there was the medical woman, Jocelyn, was with me right there. So anyhow, no ambulances in that situation anyway.
Yeah, even Catherine was in, well, I don't know where she was when she was having this, but she said, I was having gallbladder attacks for 5 days before they took me to the ER.
Unbelievable.
That's insane.
That's complete insanity.
Why is DM a captain? Why not admiral?
Well, Jason, just a note. I will deal with your question separately. I will refund your super chat. We're just trying to keep on topic for today's discussion, but I will look into that for another time. So thank you. Yeah.
He said, why is DM a captain rank? Why not admiral's uniform? Was in the U.S. Navy. So in the Sea Organization, L. Ron Hubbard is the Commodore, and the Commodore is the most senior officer that presides over the flotilla. And so I think the highest rank you could have in the Sea Org was a captain under L. Ron Hubbard. So you couldn't be an admiral, or you couldn't be the Commodore, because L. Ron Hubbard was the Commodore or the admiral of the Sea Organization. So not like any of it matters, because nobody gives a shit. And by the way, David Miscavige hates when he's referred to as Captain David Miscavige. He hates that. He will never put on that uniform and do another picture in that uniform ever again, because he really, really hates that. What else we got here?
Mainly because it provides a strong argument to get him pulled into deposition.
Well, if you're the captain of the Sea Org and
that's
no
why
one
he
outranks
hates it.
you, that's a bit of a problem legally. It was in Catherine says she was in Columbus. That's horrible.
She said she's going to tell that story on her channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Catherine's new channel, nor newer channel, get on over there and do that. Thank you, Catherine.
Awesome. Yeah, Maria Martin says, and Catherine just left. It's still happening. Shocking. Yeah, Catherine was there within the last couple of years. That's how long it was since she was there. So this is not where our data. That's another thing I got to tell you guys. We get a lot of people that are leaving the Sea Org. Catherine just happens to be one of the ones that's telling the stories and telling out. We talked to a Sea Org member a few weeks ago that told us all kinds of wild stuff about what was happening in Los Angeles. Like, this will be a great story. I'll just tell you really quick. It's a Sea Org story, so I'll tell it. When people protest in Los Angeles at where those big blue buildings are, and they are up and down the streets, there are tunnels that are underneath those buildings from when it was a hospital, back in the 50s before Scientology bought it. And the Scientology bought that in the, I think I want to say in the 70s. In the 1970s is when they bought those big cluster of blue buildings. It's often referred to as the complex or Big Blue or PAC. Any of those things that you've heard of is talking about these big blue buildings. When I was a kid in the early 1980s, we used to run around in those tunnels under there because that's what connected the morgue to where they would process all the people that passed away in the hospital. They would take them through the tunnels to the other sections of the other places, or they would get through places in those tunnels. And the morgue was in the same place where the tunnels was. And when we were kids, that was the most scary, crazy place to go because Scientology, they never renovated any of that down there from when they bought the building. So when you would go down there, it was like from the tunnels with pipes and electrical wires and burnt out lights and sections where there were no lights and you'd have to have flashlights and there was rats down there. When people have been protesting Scientology recently, they're taking the public from one place, from one building to another building in those tunnels. And I guarantee you, when somebody found out that they were bringing regular Scientologists, not Sea Org members, regular Scientologists through those tunnels, we got to fix up these tunnels. So there was some kind of construction or something that was going on. It's because they're trying to freshen up these tunnels from the viper pits that they are down there underneath the street, and with all the rats and all that and there's a million ways from Sunday to get injured in these tunnels with just things that are holding up unistrut that's sticking out from pipes and wires and dripping pipes and freezing pipes and burning hot pipe. It's crazy down there. It's wild. Anyway, so yeah,
and also, but they had the public, the civilian Scientologists going through the tunnels as well. But then they'd have to have they will have like 10 to 20 Sea Org members just guarding to make sure that they don't go off into the wrong direction or get lost.
Yes, they
or
had to
whatever.
have Sea Org members stationed at different places because you could get
Oh my
lost in these
gosh.
tunnels down there. And also you could go into places where regular civilian Scientologists were not supposed to enter because these are all places where public never go. So the fact that they were having to bring public through these tunnels was a big deal and insane, if you ask me, because that definitely nonsense down there that people don't need to be making contact with. Okay, Becky USA says, question, Claire, will you have an Audible version of your book?
That is my plan. Yes.
Okay, good. There you go.
Yep.
I think we've got one last question, unless I missed some. It says, Becky Lynn says, question, compared with other auditors, was TC any good? He was actually pretty horrible as a Scientology auditor. I did tell a story in my book, and I've told it, I think I've told it a few times even on here. When I was getting my auditing from Tom Cruise, my Scientology auditing from Tom Cruise, I actually fell asleep one time. And it was the huge flap that I fell asleep while he was auditing me. And I was on the night shift. And so I would sleep all day. And then I would sleep from 8 o'clock to like 5 o'clock was when I was secured for the night. And then I would come in, eat dinner. And then right after dinner is when I would go in session with Tom. And when this thing happened where I fell asleep, my boss got switched to the night shift and I got switched to the day shift. And that night, after I'd slept all day, they said, okay, you're gonna go home. And I was like, what do you mean? You're gonna go back home right now? And I said, it's like 8 o'clock. They're like, you're gonna go home early and you're gonna get some sleep and you're gonna come in tomorrow morning and then we're gonna get you on the day schedule and you're not gonna You're not going to be getting audited by Tom and be on the night schedule. You're going to go to the day schedule. I was like, well, who's going to do the night schedule? He's like, your boss Linnea is going to do the night shift. I was like, oh, Linnea is going to be so mad at me. Anyway, yes,
Fun.
it was
Okay, so we're gonna
tons of fun.
yeah, tons of fun. On that happy note, are we gonna do a giveaway? Our giveaways? We have
We
3,
should.
remember?
Let me
Okay.
see if I can. If do here, let's put up the spiel. We'll do this. Tell us, and we're going to do this now, guys. So I'm going to get the screen ready here. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I got the right settings and the power and the. Let's see if what happens if I do this. If I go oof, we'll see if I add it and I go. Oh, it worked. Okay, so there you go. It's up to 36 entries. So there's only 36 people that entered. There's 460 people who have commented or been in the live. So
oh yeah, let's just give people a few minutes. I see it going up.
Yeah. Okay, let's let it go. Let's get it. If it goes up to, we'll start it when it gets to 50. How about that? We'll do it when it gets to 50. We'll do some more questions. Let's do some more questions, and then we'll.
I didn't get a chance to share my Sea Org Day story, but that's okay.
You can tell your Sea Org Day sketch.
It's probably kind of sad.
You tell your Sea Org. You know what? This is perfect. I'm going to take it. I'm going to zippity doo dah, zippity day over here. You tell your story, and when I come back, we'll do the giveaway.
Okay. So, as I've mentioned, my mother joined the Sea organization when I was 4 years old. She was a single mom, and we were in England at St. Hill. Anyhow, so my mother, I was my first Sea Org Day, I was 5 years old, and my mother presented it as, oh, we're going to have a picnic and it's going to be fun and you'll get to spend some time with me. So I had high hopes that all of a sudden this was going to mean that I would get to spend time with my mother, who I was just had from the moment she joined the Sea organization, it became a constant battle just to try and even see her for an hour. Sea Org Day this particular year, I'm 5. They at St. Hill, they had built this massive like dummy ship on a grass field, and the theme was pirates and sailors. So they split all the Sea Org members. Half were sailors and half were pirates, and it was the team activity was for the sailors to capture all the pirates and throw them overboard. And my mother was a pirate, which instantly I just started crying. I'm like, she's like, no, it's a game. I'm like, that's not a game. They're going to throw you off this real life ship. So from that moment forward, I was always traumatized by Sea Org Day. And there you have it. Okay, Annie, there you go.
Okay. Don't get thrown overboard when Claire's around.
Do not. Oh, and here, Kitty says hi.
That's
Kitty
Millie.
says hi, Millie.
Millie Vanilli, that's what I call it. Okay, let's put this back up here. How do I get it back up there? Got to push the buttons.
There you go.
Not that button.
There you go.
Not this button. That button. This.
All right, here we go. Perfect.
56. How many are we going to do?
4. The first, so it's a bobblehead first. Actually, you know what? We'll just make it. Whoever wins, you tell me what you want, and we'll take care of it.
Okay, chances are pretty good. You're going to win 1 out of 53 right now, folks. Boo, Oscar D.
Oscar D. All right, Oscar D. Send me an email, claire@blownforgood.com, with a link to what you would like from either the spshop.com or the blownforgood.com merch store.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to go just right away. Go again. Or you want to give people another chance? Okay, we're going to draw again. You got entries. It's up to 56 now. So you got 1 out of 55 chances because 57. 1 out of 56 chances because it automatically takes whoever won off the list for the next drawing. Ooh, Melissa, you were robbed. Halo Murray.
Halo Murray. Congratulations, Halo Murray. Send us an email, please, with your
link.
Your link. Yes, exactly.
If you go to the SP shop or blownforgood.com to the merch store, you just pick what you want, and then Claire can send you a link that is that item.
Road to freedom. Yay.
There you go.
I must say, I'm just not a fan of how much it slows down these to like, you think it's the person and then it scrolls one more time.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. It does that on
Oh,
purpose. It's suspense. It creates suspense
oh my
and,
gosh. Well, congratulations, Road to
conflict.
Freedom. Thank you for being here. Suspense and conflict. I don't need any drama in my life. Thanks, honey.
It's like it's like, Wheel of Fortune. It's the same as,
Yeah.
"Ooh, wow, look at that. Ooh, oh,
Here's
dings."
a
You know,
London.
Dings
Yay.
won. Didn't Dings win last week? He
Not
almost won
sure.
again, or he was robbed last week. I just remember we were
I
saying that.
remember the username for sure. So thanks for being here again, Dings. I'm so sorry you if you feel robbed. Oh, goodness me.
Okay, Mary Kay London, you
Yep.
won. Congratulations.
So how
Okay,
many have
one
we done now?
that was 3, I think.
Okay, so one more.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is it, folks. This is the last
Yep.
one. Skadoosh. And here you go. I do like it. It is fun how it does it. Oh, even Phil almost got that one. Oh, Lillian. Oh, hope I did. Jenny. Oh my God. It was
Jenny
so close.
H. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you to everybody here joining
Ding
us today.
says
We appreciate it. Yes, last week I won. Oh, there you go. You were
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
See, every once in a while it remembers things. I've got a good
Yes.
memory. It's just my filing system's not always the best. Um, okay.
That's a good one.
I think we did everything. Let me see if I missed any comments. I don't think we did. I think we got it. Congratulations to all the winners. Um, the drawing algorithm is infested with BTs. FYT says,
There you go. Yeah.
you know, according to Scientology, everything's infested with BTs, guys. So
Yep.
the drawing is not not going to be an exception.
Phil
We
says,
hope
"At
you,
least I still have my BTs."
yeah,
Exactly.
hopefully you guys learned something new about the Sea organization that you didn't priorly know.
And hopefully you
That
had some fun with Marc's creativity. You know,
yeah,
he put a lot of work into that slideshow.
I got a hold of some AI image generators, and they were putting out, and I was like, "This is actually pretty good. I think I'm going to. I think I could make a bunch of different things here." But yes, we hope you guys had fun. Hopefully you learned something. If
Thanks for joining us, Vanessa. I see you in the chat. It's good to see you here. Thank you.
if you are somebody who lives near where Sea Org members are, and you see them out in the wild, give them let them know there's people that care about them on the outside. You don't have to get aggro with them. I mean, the way Sea Org members' lives work, if they go out and somebody gets aggro, that just reinforces what Scientology's been teaching them, that
Right.
people on the outside are crazy and they're the ones that are doing the right thing. So if you act the fool around one of them and start screaming stuff at them, then that just reinforces what they've been indoctrinated. So so we try to like let them know, hey, if you ever need to get out, there's people out here on the outside.
There's
And
hope, joy, love, and life on the outside, and it will be the best day of the rest of your life the moment you get the GTFO.
yeah, and we've confirmed this with the people that we've recently helped get out of the
Yep.
Sea organization. So
Yep.
so yeah, they have said, and it's kind of common knowledge amongst Scientologists that yeah, the outside world are the bad guys, and Scientology inside the bubble, that's where all the good is. So when people act the fool, they go, yeah, see, L. Ron Hubbard was right. They're acting the fool.
Yep.
Anything else? Are we
Nope,
good?
that's it for this week. Yes. Thanks to
Awesome,
everybody who
guys.
joined us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and like. We won't be able to do this every week, but we certainly will try to come back periodically. And I appreciate everyone who sent me emails of book recommendations for my Life After Scientology series. Like I said, I have some amazing things and I'm super excited about coming on that.
Yeah, and per YouTube, 52% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. So if you want us to keep doing this, it helps if we get comments and likes and subscribes and all that happy hoo-ha. So don't forget to do that. And otherwise, until next time, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store link in the description. We have Hail Xenu, Xenu is my homeboy, and BFG branded mouse pads, shirts, mugs, all sorts of other stuff in there that helps us to bring you new content on a regular basis. You can also pick up a copy of my book, Blown for Good, Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology, in hardback, Kindle, and Audible versions as well. There's also a link to our podcast, and you can get that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to watch another video, you can click on this link right here, or you can click on this one here, or you can click on the subscribe button right here. Thanks a lot. Until next time.